So,
All right,
I'm Paul Durrell,
5:30.
founder of Leopold Gallery. Little Tyler Kimball, founder of Monarch Glass out of the East Crossroads. If you haven't been to his studio, I have to come sometime when he's blowing. Talk to Tyler about that. He's near Truman Road and Paseo. Everybody knows where that is. Near 71 in the Paseo. Yeah, just east of 71. And it is a fantastic studio, three-story building with an incredible basement, swimming pool and jacuzzi out back, closed to the public. Not really. But he's got a big bathtub. So anyway, I started Leopold Gallery almost 35 years ago in this city. I went to Shawnee Mission South and then KU. I somehow didn't make it to Fort Hays State, but this guy did. But we're Kansans nonetheless. When I finished at KU in 81, I set out to see the world, Europe, worked for a season on a fishing boat in Alaska. I'm sure you've seen The Most Dangerous Catch. It's 3 times worse than that. Especially when you're covered in fish guts and slime and it's freezing cold and you've got a 12-hour shift. But you're young and you can take it, right? Far cry from Johnson County, baby. And that's why I did it. And I worked on a horse ranch in California. Then I lived in New York, learning the art trade. Connecticut, same thing. Eventually came home to start a gallery representing primarily Kansas and Missouri artists. Do you think that was a formula for success in 1991? People thought I was out of my mind because people would not pay artists, regionally, artists like him or my other painters that you can see on that postcard or sculptures, what they were worth. They wanted it for chump change. And I was one of the people that stepped up and said that stops now. Because they were used to getting local art on the cheap. And that was causing really talented people to flee Kansas City. And my job was to get people to stay invested in Kansas City and keep the artists here as much as we could. He installs work all over the country now. And that's had very little to do with me, more his own abilities to make his name and his art known. But I sure get him a lot of work in Kansas City. I didn't bring a picture of the big one we did for the Olathe Library a year and a half ago, but it's been all over the internet. That big explosion of glass doing this, 16 feet high. Same height as this one, actually. And that was a blast. This was a different kind of challenge. Where did the idea come from? I don't know. The guys at Drake Development, Matt Pennington and so forth, suggested something they'd seen in a courtyard at Vail that did this. It's called a compound twist. Really hard to achieve. And we looked at it. It was pricey. It was bronze. $500,000. And the budget didn't call for that. I didn't want to do bronze anyway. I wanted to do stainless and glass. And he agreed with that. So we began toying with ideas. Is it flame related? Is it plant related? Is it whatever you want to see? It's all three, of course. It's whatever you see in it. Some people do see something that's botanically related. Other people see flame. I kind of like flame. I love flame and the whole Phoenix thing, and I'm a big camper and hiker and all that. Grand Canyon is one of my favorite places in the world. Although you can't build many fires down there, they discourage you. But what a place to go. So I think it comes from all of that. And then it was a challenge just to get the steel to do this, to find a fabricator locally who could do it lightweight and yet strong enough to hold the weight of the glass. What's the weight, man? The glass?
It's about 3/4 of a ton.
3/4 of a ton. So the armature is lightweight, but it has to be very strong, which explains the center square tube and so forth. All these have to be at the right angle, properly positioned all the way around going to the top. Every rod, it was something, trying to get it there. And then the installation was the easy part because it wasn't as heavy as a lathe. And then the pedestal, they wanted to cover it in stone like this stone. And I said, they meant well by it, but they just didn't understand. Art must contrast with its environment. It must not blend in or match its environment. And the same goes for paintings. Paintings, people always change their interiors, wallpaper, paint, carpet. Painting remains the same. It's a window into a different world. And you don't try to match it to your interior. A lot of people get that wrong, but after a while they get accustomed to it. So I wanted a rough, coarse concrete pedestal to contrast with the refinement of the steel and the glass and to set it off. And then I wanted it stained as kind of taupe color. They thought I was crazy. I hear that in the arts all the time. But I've been doing this a long time. And I think it turned out well. Your thoughts? And I think the contrast was essential. And now they agree completely. They just couldn't see that at first. You know, they wanted to be the finish of that little pavilion over there, or this stone here, that stone. Driving me out of my mind. Have I had those arguments with developers very often? How many years far back can you count? And I've worked with them all over the country. California here, Colorado, DC, Virginia, and so forth. But the idea is always kind of an amicable conclusion, let them do their job on it. So that was some of the challenge and the difficulty getting the steel to behave and getting it to conform to what we needed. Well, that is art. It's not about conformity, at least not in my book, and I'm pretty sure not in yours. Looking around at the faces tonight, I don't see a whole lot of people that are MAGA. Am I being too bold? Wouldn't be the first time. So I'm on board with that. And that's how we got here. Then yeah, MAGA is dangerous. We're not going to talk about it. They'll cook their own. Now I want this genius, and he really is a genius, to talk to you about the glass.
So I think there's something like 85 pieces of glass on here. You can see that they all have the copper extensions on that. So that's something that I